The small town of Ridgeway wasn't the kind of place where excitement was expected. People woke up early, drank their coffee, worked their jobs, and slept in quiet routine. Among its quiet residents was a woman named Elara. To the people who passed her on the street, she was simple, maybe too simple. She wore loose clothes, kept her hair tied back, and worked long hours at a small grocery store on the corner of Maple Street. Nobody knew much about her life, and nobody cared to ask. In a world where appearances meant everything, Elara blended into the background like a shadow on a dim wall. But what no one knew was that the woman they thought was fragile had a past darker, sharper, and deadlier than anyone could imagine. It was a warm evening when the first crack in her quiet disguise appeared. The sun had barely set, and the streetlights flickered alive in golden glows. Elara closed up the grocery store late that night. She walked down the silent road, clutching her bag tightly. The chill of autumn brushed across her skin, and the sound of a distant motorcycle echoed down the empty streets. She stopped, her instincts prickling, an instinct not born from paranoia but from years of surviving battlegrounds where hesitation meant death. The growl of engines grew louder. From around the corner, 3 motorcycles roared into view, their headlights blazing like predatory eyes. The bikers weren't strangers to this town. Everyone knew them, the type of men who thrived on fear. They were trouble on wheels, dressed in leather jackets with scars etched across their faces, laughing in ways that could turn any warm night cold. They had been looking for entertainment, and to them, a lone woman walking home was prey. Elara's steps didn't quicken. She kept her pace steady, her face calm, though her mind sharpened like steel. The bikers circled her like wolves, their tires screeching against the pavement, their voices sneering and loud. "Hey there, sweetheart," one of them barked, leaning forward on his bike. His beard was thick, his eyes drunk with arrogance. "What's a pretty thing like you doing all alone at night?" The second, bald-headed with tattoos creeping up his neck, spat on the ground. "She looks like she's in a hurry. Maybe we should help her slow down." The third, the youngest but cruelest looking, revved his engine, circling closer. "Simon, don't be scared. We don't bite, not unless you want us to." Their laughter echoed through the street, and the fear they expected to see in her eyes never appeared. Instead, Elara stopped walking and turned her head slightly. Her face was unreadable, her voice soft yet sharp when she finally spoke. "Move." The bikers looked at each other before bursting into laughter. "Move," the bearded one repeated. "Oh, she's got a little fire in her. I like that." But their laughter died when she shifted her bag, and for the briefest second the edge of her sleeve rolled up. There, inked into her skin, was a symbol, a mark, a military tattoo most civilians couldn't recognize, but anyone who had ever served, anyone who had ever faced combat would know. It wasn't just a tattoo. It was a badge of blood, survival, and unbreakable strength. The youngest biker noticed it first. His laughter faltered, replaced with a flicker of unease. "Hey, that mark. Ain't that?" He trailed off uncertain. Elara's eyes locked onto him, cold and steady. "Last warning. Move." Instead of listening, the bald one swung off his bike and took a step toward her. "Or what?" he sneered, cracking his knuckles. "What are you gonna do, lady? You think a little tattoo's gonna scare us?" The sound of boots hitting pavement echoed in the night as he closed the gap between them. He reached out, trying to grab her arm. But what happened next was faster than his drunken brain could register. Elara's hand shot up, twisting his wrist in a sharp motion. A sickening crack filled the air, and he dropped to his knees with a scream, his hand bent at an unnatural angle. The other two froze, their laughter replaced with silence. They had seen fights before, but never one so clean, so precise. The bearded biker rushed forward, swinging a wild punch. Elara stepped sideways, her movements fluid, controlled. Her elbow drove into his ribs, and he gasped for air as though the wind had been stolen from his lungs. She followed with a kick to the back of his knee, and he collapsed onto the ground with a groan. The youngest revved his bike, torn between fight and flight. His eyes darted to the tattoo again, realization dawning. "No way," he muttered. "You're military, special forces or some His words cut short as Elara turned her gaze on him, calm, lethal, and unshaken. She stepped toward him, her shadow stretching across the pavement under the streetlight. The night no longer felt like theirs. It belonged to her now. The youngest biker panicked, twisting the throttle to flee. But before he could speed off, Elara's hand reached out, grabbing the handlebars with startling strength. The bike jerked sideways, and he toppled onto the ground, groaning. She stood over him, her voice low but commanding. "You picked the wrong woman." The three men groaned on the ground, clutching their wounds, their pride shattered. None of them dared to get up again. For the first time, fear filled their eyes, not the fear they inflicted on others, but fear born from realizing they had underestimated someone who wasn't just a simple woman. Elara adjusted her sleeve, covering the tattoo again. She picked up her bag, her steps as calm as when she had first started walking. To the rest of the world, she was ordinary. But tonight proved a truth no one in Ridgeway knew. Sometimes the quietest people carried the loudest storms within them. The bikers never returned to that part of town again. Word spread like wildfire in whispers about a woman with eyes of steel, about a tattoo no one could fully understand, and about a night when three predators learned what it meant to become prey. And as Elara disappeared into the night, her past whispered back to her. The battlefield had never left her. She had only buried it beneath the mask of simplicity. But masks could break, and the fire within her was far from extinguished.